I'm counting cards in Vegas, and the casinos have sent flyers of my name and face everywhere. In this video, I play at and get kicked out of 9 different casinos all in one day, so they get to see exactly what it's like getting backed off over and over and over again. You also get to watch as I fire some massive bets in real time as I deal with the grind and exhaustion of counting cards in Las Vegas. This is my 4th day in Vegas, and at this point, all the casinos in the area are expecting to see me. So the plan today is to play, expect to back off, head to the next place, and repeat. Casino surveillance is razor sharp, but fortunately for us, it's Las Vegas, so it's really hard to run out of places to play at. So I decided to start at the Sahara and make my way as far down the strip as I could. As I walked into the casino, a shoe had just started with few players at the table. I decided this would be a good time to back count, so I stood and watched to wait for a positive count. By jumping in only when the count is positive, I'm able to avoid all the negatives, and it's an amazing way to generate more EV and reduce risk as a card counter. In this shoe, the count dropped drastically, so I went to watch some roulette. Once I saw the dealer shuffling from across the casino, I returned to the blackjack table, and because all other players had left, I sat down to play alone.
No, I don't.
The dealer asked for ID, which isn't ideal, but what can you do? These days, it is really hard to play in Vegas without showing ID at the table, so I handed it over, thinking that it would just be an age check, like it had been everywhere else. But of course, the dealer handed it to the pit boss, who copied down all of my information, and I swear, not even 2 minutes later, this is what happened.
No, I'm not. Sir. Alright, sounds good.
Nope, that one's safe.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
There you go. See ya.
Alright, sounds good.
This was a frustrating start to the day, and now we knew our name and face was definitely compromised. But we're sticking with the plan, so we're gonna take a short walk to Resorts World. Just yesterday, I'd been backed off from this casino, but I was hoping to land a different shift and sneak in a quick session. But as I walked into the pit, I locked eyes with the games manager. The exact same games manager that had backed me off last night. I sat down, and within just one hand, he came up to me and backed me off.
Yes. Out again? Alright.
You're not allowed to play blackjack at all here.
No worries.
Okay?
Yeah.
You're welcome to play anything else.
Exactly.
Alrighty.
Alright.
Enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving.
You too, man.
Okay.
Thank you guys. You guys are very polite.
Okay, this one was expected, so we are off to the next casino. Wynn wasn't a casino that I'd played at yet, so I was hoping here I would get a little bit of playing time. This casino was huge. It took me a while to find the table, and when I finally did, I learned that it was a $100 minimum double deck game. This meant that our swings would be a little bit larger than usual, but we could handle it. After playing through some negatives, the count jumped, so I bought in and put out 2 spots of $600. I was dealt a 17 and a soft 16 against the dealer's 8. I waved my 17 and hit my soft 16, making it hard. I hit again for a 20 and stood. The dealer flipped a queen, winning me one hand and losing me the other. I kept my bets out and was dealt a 20 and a 12 against the dealer's 7. I stood on my 20 and bust my second hand with 22. The dealer flipped an ace, so again, my win and loss canceled for a push. And that was the last round, so the dealer ended up shuffling. On the last hand at the end of the next shoe, the count rose again, so I bet 2 spots of $300. I got a blackjack and a 13 against the dealer's 5. I stood, but the dealer drew to 19. Unfortunately for us, we still profit $150 because of the blackjack. Halfway through the next shoe, the count rose and I put out 2 spots of $500 and pulled double 20s. I waved both hands and the dealer flipped a 9, which was exactly what we needed to win these massive hands. And good thing the count just dropped, because just before the next round, the games manager came over.
Alright, no worries.
I had a feeling that was coming.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Take care, guys.
Some dealers can spot a counter, but most of the time they just don't care. After all, they do get more tips when there are more players at the table, so they really have no incentive to rat you out. Glad that I was able to get some playing time, I headed over to the next casino. I forgot to turn my hidden camera on, but all the tables were completely full except for this one 6-5 single deck game. I quickly called my team manager, who said the game was beatable, but while most games are profitable at a true 1, because of the 6-5 payout, I had to wait to a true 3 to raise my bets. So I sat down and played and waited for a good count, and when it finally came and I put my bet out, the dealer yelled, "Checks play!" to the pit boss to alert them that I just put a big bet out. This really frustrated me because during this high count, the pit boss ordered the dealer to shuffle. It's too bad the other tables are full, because when they shuffle like this game is just not beatable. So without any other options, I packed up and I headed to the next casino. I loved this session. This was the only casino I had played at in Vegas where I felt truly comfortable as a card counter. The game conditions were pretty good and the pit boss was super relaxed. I mean, this was a place that I could settle into. I played through some small bets and some negative counts for about 15 minutes when the count started rising. I placed a bet of $200 and lost, but the count went up, so I bought him for $600 to fund my next bet. I was dealt what looks like a 14 against the dealer's ace, and the count was high enough to take insurance. So I did. The dealer peeked for blackjack, and she ended up having it. The very next hand, the dealer showed another ace. I took insurance again, and she checked for blackjack, but this time she did not have it, so I lost my insurance bet. I hit my 9 for 15 and stood because the count was over a true 4. Things got worse as the dealer flipped a 9 for 20, losing me the main bet too. I bought him for another $1,000 and bet it all on one spot. The count was super high, and out of nowhere, we pulled a massive blackjack. As the dealer counted out $1,500, I was starting to think that maybe things were starting to turn around. I kept the $1,000 bet out and got a 5 against the dealer's 6. I hit to make 7, then 14, and stood. The dealer flipped a 9 for 15, but pummeled us with a disgusting draw, beating us with an 18. Another $1,000 bet was out, and it was the last hand of the shoe. I was dealt a 7 against the dealer's 10, and I hit for 9, then 18, and at this point, I felt screwed. Of course, she flipped a 10, and we lost another $1,000. This one hurt. Just moments later, while the dealer was setting up the next shoe, the back off came.
We don't want you acting out loud back here.
Alright, no worries. That's good.
You don't have player cards?
No.
And I suggest you come to the corner, come to the Harris, and go to the and do the payment.
It's just...
Yeah.
Alright.
We have 9 properties.
Alright.
The games manager was being pretty passive aggressive and suggested that I didn't play at any other Caesars properties.
Yeah, good. How are you? He needs the cash out. He needs the ID though.
Long story short, they refused to cash me out, and as usual, they used the old age check excuse to try to get my ID. I've dealt with cash out refusals, but this situation with this games manager was something I'd never dealt with before, so it'll probably get its own video. Anyways, on to the next casino, Paris. I got backed off here at Paris 2 days before this session, but I was able to play a few positive EV hands. During this session, I ended up losing a double down, and I lost the following hand where my 20 was beat by 21. And to top it all off,
Have you called tonight? You can't play blackjack here. Alright.
this was the hardest part of the job, and frankly, this is the very nature of this job. As a card counter, you'll only win about 55% of your sessions. So every time I leave the casino, I'll be down almost half the time. From here, I went to New York to see if I could stir up any trouble and hopefully make back some of my losses. Here, I waited for a fresh shoe, then sat down to play. It was an 8-deck game, so my bets moved way less often than it would in a double-deck game. I played through a good chunk of the shoe when the count finally started to rise. And after practicing with my hidden camera over the past few days, I got some really good footage of the ceiling. From my reaction, it sounded like I had lost 2 hands of $200, but the count went up, so I bought in for more and bet 2 spots of $600. Here, I got dealt 8s and a 14 against the dealer's 7. I had to buy in for more to split my 8s, and of course, I was dealt a 7 to make 15. This was just a terrible hand. Anyways, I had to hit this, so I did, and I pulled not a Giga 6, but a gorgeous 5.
Oh, wow.
I waved it, and I was given a 10 for my other 8 to make 18. I waved that too, and I pulled a juicy 7 on my 14, making 21.
Nice. Awesome.
My bet stayed out, and I was dealt a 15 and 14 against the dealer's 10. I surrendered half my bet on the 15, and I hit the 14, but unfortunately, I bust that hand. The count had dropped a bit, and I bet 2 hands of $200. I got a 17 and a 12 against the dealer's ace, and this time I didn't take insurance, but I did surrender the 17. I turned my 12 into a 22, meaning that I lost. Right after that, my hidden camera died, but it was the last hand of the shoe, and I got backed off pretty quick after that. I ended up charging my camera on my walk to Mandalay Bay, but when I got there, I completely forgot to turn it on. But I do have an accurate recreation of how this session went. Once the count had reached a true 1.5, I sat down to play. From there, the count jumped up super high, and I fired a bunch of big bets. I finished the shoe right before the back off came and went to cash it out.
8,081.50.
Sounds good. Alright, perfect.
At this point, I had walked all day and I was about to call it. But this win gave me just enough motivation to power through and decide to hit one more casino. The Luxor was connected to the casino I had just played at, so there was a really good chance that I'd be backed off really quickly. I played a couple of hands and the count went up, but while I was buying in to bet bigger,
You can't play blackjack here. I know where it's at.
they called me by name and packed me off in front of a full table. The other players, after witnessing a live back off, were pretty confused and asked me a couple of questions.
You know here?
Not here, but other places.
Why you crack cards?
Yeah.
Do you know like a good time blackjack player or what?
By these guys, yeah.
Okay.
Alright. Appreciate it, guys.
I admitted to them that I was counting cards, which isn't something I would usually do, but I did feel like a bit of a celebrity when I walked out. So with that, I headed back to my hotel to shake my legs off. Here are some stats for the day. I left my hotel at 3 p.m. and ended my last session at 12 a.m. with a total of 2 hours and 5 minutes of playing time. Within those 2 hours, I ended up winning $2,255, which isn't huge, but at least we didn't lose today. Now, it may sound crazy that only 2 out of 9 hours were spent sitting at a blackjack table, but there was a lot of walking in between, and that's just how card counting in Vegas goes. In my next video, you get to see what my first 2 days in Vegas were like, but until then, I've been Pinkman, and I'll see you in the next one.